Major funding for this program is made possible by grants from Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Perfect Building Maintenance, New York Community Bank, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Inc., New York's Window Company, Capital One Bank, Greenberg Traurig, LLP. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from AVR Realty Company, LLC, Briarwood Organization, Beechwood Organization, C.B. Richard Ellis, Cushman and Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, First American Title Insurance Company of New York, F.J. Siami Construction, Friedman LLP, Gemini Real Estate Advisors LLC, Investors Savings Bank, Jack Jaffa and Associates Real Estate Consultants, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Madison Realty Capital, Massey Knackle Realty Services, M&T Bank, Markham LLP, Marcus and Millichap Real Estate Investment Services, Meridian Capital Group, The Moynihan Group, Margolin Weiner and Evans LLP, Newmark Knight Frank, Orphanides and Associates, SJP Properties, Sterling and Sterling Inc., Stonehenge Partners, Urban American, The Wickoff Group.
Hello, my name is Michael Stoller. They call it the Garden State. It's very close by. Certain people consider parts of it really adjunct sections of New York City. And so what's happening in the state of New Jersey? What's happening with regard to office, retail, industrial, cities that you hear of, Newark, Harrison, Secaucus. So today I've brought together 4 leaders in the state of New Jersey who are going to provide their insight and thoughts on what's happening today in New Jersey. My guests today include Emmanuel Stern, president of Harts Mountain Industries, Peter Coziello, the president and CEO of Advanced Realty, Frank Giantomasi, a partner at Genova Burns and Giantomasi, and last but not least, Murray Kushner, a principal at SK Properties. So Murray, you and I
want to know how to spell his last name.
No,
Slowly. Very slowly.
Very slowly.
Spelled slowly.
So here's the question. You've been in New Jersey many, many years. So how do you look at the market today? How do you see the office market, the industrial market?
It's fractured at best.
So what do you mean by fractured?
As we were talking about earlier before this program, on the residential end of things, the multifamily market, which was pretty soft throughout the spring, has pretty much tightened up pretty well. And I think everybody's back up to 97, 98% occupancy. There's actually some rent growth in the multifamily sector. The office market is difficult. The bulk of our assets are out in Somerset and Morris counties. And we're making some deals, but we're getting the same rents that we got basically 20, 25 years ago. And there's no real impetus for growth. That market historically has been either telecommunications based, AT&T, Lucent. They're a shell of themselves in that particular market. Verizon, which says it's a New York company, fortunately is expanding in New Jersey. So that's helping our market out pretty dramatically in Somerset and Morris. And then the other driver has always been the pharmaceutical industry. And unfortunately, their business model has changed. They're still very much so ensconced throughout the state, in particular those markets. But they figured out over the course of the last 4, 5, 7 years, whatever it is, that rather than spending $500 million to $1 billion to develop a drug and then maybe not get it approved through the FDA, that they're better off spending their excess cash, and they have a lot, um, on buying up each other's companies or buying each other's drugs or biomedical or whatever it is. So their business models have changed, and they're not growing in the state, and they haven't grown in the last number of years.
Prior to the show, Peter, we were talking about downsizing. You know, people are signing leases, you were saying, but they're taking less space because of, as Manny was saying, you know, communications and you know, the internet and other things. What are you seeing? Because you're a larger owner of a lot of office space.
I think, you know, we were talking about this before, that we've done some transactions recently in Morris County, and each one of those transactions, I think that, you know, the user went maybe from 135,000 square feet to 110,000 square feet. And what they find is that inside these buildings, they're operating at a much higher efficiency ratio. They are operating in these cubes. It's all about the technology side. And they're even putting in flat screen TVs in each one of these cubes, whereby, you know, someone who's visiting or has a hoteling kind of operation, you know, they personalize the space for them so they feel like it's their office. But I think, you know, we've seen the densities here being somewhere between 5 and 6 people per 1,000 square feet, which is much higher than what we'd ever seen previously. So as a result of that, they're using a lot less space. And the other component of it is that in a workforce today, it used to be that a lot of these people, I know one of these centers we have with travelers, they have a lot of lawyers and what have you, and it used to be that everybody had their own personal assistant. Well, today you don't really see that. And you're seeing people come in and everybody's got their own laptop, their own iPad or whatever, and they're working much more efficiently. So you have a head count, a head reduction. And let's face it, I think since you know, the internet revolution here, you're seeing the whole office space environment gets much more efficient, you know, with filing of papers and whatever the case might be. And as a result of that, they're using less space.
Manny, 2 years ago, I think it was, or maybe 3 years ago, and you did it even as late as last year, you created this major advertising campaign saying, you know, how much cheaper it was to come over the bridge or the tunnel to New Jersey.
It's even cheaper now.
So what happened with that? You know, where do you stand in that market? How was that campaign, and how do you see the office? Because you have a lot of office space and a lot of industrial space.
Listen, the office business, the suburban office business is challenged. Okay, the fundamentals suck. That being said, it's a cyclical business. It will always be a cyclical business. In 2005 and 2006, I suspected you had some people from New York City who are on this show who might have been trying to convince other people that real estate had moved beyond its cyclical nature, that there was new floors in what could happen. And what's been happening the last couple of years is you know, it's part of the cycle. Yet, you know, this connection in the capital markets, which has now come back, people don't know how to peg values. At the end of the day, though, values are created by revenues and outflows, which means tenants and jobs. And you know, New Jersey needs to begin net absorbing its commercial space again.
Now, but you know, you're listening to Murray and you're listening to Peter, and the combination, due to the industries leaving, some of the major industries, the pharmaceutical, the telecommunications, you know, you're losing people. And then when you say you're reducing your staff, you know, how are you going to gain additional?
I think it's important because what does New Jersey have for it? New Jersey has it. You know, one of the great things about New Jersey is that it has been its geography. I think Ben Franklin said it was a keg tapped on both ends by New York and Pennsylvania. So it has its intermodal connections, and it's its intelligent, educated workforce, and those are things that I think the front office understands and is trying to figure out how to use to its best advantage. And I got to give Governor Christie credit, because while he hasn't done it yet, he certainly is attempting to change the culture of government in Trenton.
Now, another side, you know.
But I think it's important, because one of the things that Jersey's been fighting is this perception that it's too hard to get things done. And this new governor, I've never seen a politician fight a perception like that as aggressively as he's going about fighting it. And early indications are from people who have to deal with the DEPs of the world, from people who are attempting to lure tenants in. You know what? There's a whole lot more embracement of those kinds of issues and the bureaucratic, how to get things done than there has been in previous administrations.
But with luring tenants, we were talking a little bit before, New Jersey has certain incentive programs, some of them very, very extensive programs, which probably help bring depository trust from Manhattan to Jersey City. I mean, how do you look at, you're involved as a counselor and others, how do you see these incentives, which, as someone said prior to the show, could amount to $20 a foot?
It's
that
a
you don't
subsidy.
pay rent.
It's a subsidy game right now, and that's what you need to get construction going. I mean, you have a depressed market all over. New Jersey's got great location, as Manny said, and right now you've got an aggressive government program that's out there, the urban transit hub credits and things of this nature. New Jersey's doesn't have the revenue that New York does or that a Philly does, but New Jersey's always had an equity growth. It's always been an equity game. So if you can get it built and you can get it tenanted.
Let's talk about this incentive, because I think it's important to bring out this incentive. Explain the incentive program.
If you build with a certain number of jobs, new jobs, and if you build with a certain gravity, $50 million worth of development, you're entitled to tax credits that will subsidize your construction, and that's big, and it's enormous. And I think that any one of these gentlemen here, if they were going to build anything new commercially, they're going to look to get near a train station. They're going to get near something that can utilize those credits.
The credits are so big, it's crazy not to. But here's the problem, that's assuming that New Jersey needs more office space.
That's a big issue.
It's a big giant issue.
We've got some structural holes in the commercial office space area, and I think it's in part due to what Pete talked about. We're staffing 5 lawyers to 1 staff person now, and it's probably going to get bigger and bigger than that. The young professionals that are coming out, we're all mid-age here. They don't even want staff people, and if you don't need staff people, what Peter talked about, that density, you don't need the office space. You need some new tenants. You need to attract some new tenants, and you need to see job growth. But right now, you've got job shrinkage in terms of technology.
You talk about convenience, and New Jersey has convenience. The path is great. You have property in Jersey City, Newark. I mean, these are great, reasonable ways to get into the city. Newark Airport, you don't have this opportunity at LaGuardia or Kennedy. It's a real schlep over here. You have that situation. But what has happened in Newark? I mean, Cory Booker came there. Everything was great. You have a great property in Newark. What happened? Your office is in Newark? He's had property over there? You own some property?
We relocated to Newark. Genova Burns and John Tomasi moved in a year and a half ago. We partnered with Mark Burson of Fidelco, and we're experiencing a great opportunity. We're getting more applicants for jobs than we've ever had. We think it's all about location, and we're getting people from different parts of Jersey who are ready to take the train and take mass transportation. So you've got a change in the whole paradigm. People are looking not to drive to work.
But you have a problem in Newark because you can't, as we were saying before, you can't get, you need to put the other infrastructure. You have to have the restaurants, you have to have the supermarkets, you have to have you still go on Broad Street. I don't see any great retailers. Jerry Gottesman was on my show a number of years ago, and he says, when they built the malls, everybody left Newark, and that was the situation.
Well,
what's the percentage of persons that work in your office that live in Newark?
Probably about 20%, 25%, and I would say it's a growing percentage. Newark is becoming an alternative for the young professional. They can't afford, listen, they're coming out of law school with a big bag of debt. They can't afford Hoboken, they can't afford Jersey City, and Newark is a very, very affordable.
So your young associates are actually coming and living in Newark?
Yes.
That's terrific.
Yeah,
I
think
we're seeing it.
That's great news.
That's great news.
I think the biggest
that is a
thing we
great
need to look
leading
at
indicator.
is as we look at this whole compression, and we look at, and I think all of us have a sense that the standard of living in this country is going down, and all of us are fighting costs each and every day. When you look at the automobile, and if someone is living in the suburbs, and I would venture to say everybody here has 3 cars at minimum and maybe more. So if you have 3 cars, you can't drive a car for less than $800 a month. I don't care what kind of car it is. Depreciation, tires, all that stuff, insurance. So if you do the math, 3 times 8 is 24, make numbers easy, it's $30,000 a year. Gross it up because it's after taxes, call it $40,000. 2 people go to work. If they work 2,000 hours a year, and that's kind of the norm here, that means every hour that they sit at their desk, that clerical person or someone, it costs them $10 an hour to drive. Who in hell can afford that? we can't compete in a globalized environment with that kind of burden. And I think as a result of that, these people are going to come back to these urban
but you know what? I
environments.
think Murray, with Jersey City, I'm not sure if it's where your property is. There were a number of buildings built in Jersey City didn't have the convenience, so they built the light rail, and the light rail has helped quite a bit in certain markets around over there. And and people, as we joked last year when you were on the show, people still continue to go to New Jersey from New York City and otherwise because there's no sales tax on clothing. And when you look at a 9% sales tax or 8.75%, and you don't mind taking the trip over there. That's why you go to to all your shops in Secaucus. I mean, so there are certain big benefits. And look, you got the Red Bull. What's happening in Harrison?
Yeah. Well, I think Harrison's a very interesting community. The Red Bull Stadium is opened. It's magnificent inside. I think it's a standard. I know that the Red Bull themselves, looked at that market and said, look, we're going to own the finest stadium in America. So when you visit there, it has all that attributes. What we've done there is we've taken and a first phase, 35 acres. We went down 10 feet throughout the site, cleaned everything up environmentally. And you can imagine, because that's a change of the Industrial Revolution there. So that took us a few years and many, many millions of dollars.
I think the family, you used to be in Harrison, right?
Yeah.
We were adjacent landowners for the pet company for 25 years.
Right.
That's right, around the corner. So I think ultimately right now we're in for final approval to start our first phase, which is going to be about 380 housing units. But we looked at it, similar to what you were talking about. Where are you going to go in New Jersey? And someone's going to ultimately give you approval for approximately 5,000 housing units. So at the end of the day, you're going to get 4,000 apartments. You're going to get almost 1 million square feet of retail. You're going to get about 2 million square feet of office. So you're really, in essence, building a city over
what's
time.
interesting, which relates to what Manny was saying about being more into the residential market today and what Murray was in his residential market. There's been a recent study, especially people are planning to rent as opposed to buy. More people are planning to rent because the American dream isn't there in that manner, and the appreciation level isn't there.
I think, listen, we're continuing our delevering as a country, and what that means is home ownership. And I think we will have gone from a peak home ownership of 64%.
Yeah,
I was just reading this,
69%.
down to like the more traditionally it's been 60%.
60%,
right? And now the economists are saying, give it 5 years, it'll probably be back down to that mean.
But the interesting situation was, if you look at the scenario, and it had an effect definitely in Newark for the first-time home buyer because of the $8,000.
Right.
Sales have dropped in the month of May and June because people aren't buying. Those incentives were there. It didn't have that much of an effect in New York City because of the higher price of the situation. But George Philopoulos, when he was on my show, The Beacon, he said he sold units, plenty of units, because of the lower price, because people couldn't qualify for that.
The qualification is the biggest single detriment to buying. People still have a need to live in Newark, in Jersey City, in Hoboken, but if they can't get a mortgage to finance that acquisition, then they've got to rent.
The biggest problem, I have a friend who does affordable housing, affordable condominiums and this and that. Truly, he said, end loans. The end loan problem has been a major problem just throughout the tri-state region because of the process and everything else. We were talking, you own industrial, I believe you own industrial. The industrial market was great. Newark was, not Newark, the state of New Jersey was the industrial place. You were saying 8A, Exit 8A, and other places are there.
Well, let me get back to one, before I address the industrial, let me get back to a comment that Manny was saying earlier. I, too, think that the new governor in New Jersey is going to have a dramatic impact on not only the business environment, but the living environment. And, the two places that we're developing right now, building right now, we're not building anything of an office or commercial nature. We're only building apartments right now. So we just finished one 350-unit apartment building right on the PATH station in
Which is exactly what I'm saying.
In Jersey City, and we're building 500 units in Pennsylvania because, as we were talking about earlier, Governor Rendell has been eating New Jersey's cake. And so businesses have been not expanding in New Jersey, although I think that's going to change. I don't want to, we're here to be positive about it, and I think things are going to change. You know, you can't. It's tough to segregate exactly what's happened in the macroeconomy versus what's happening immediately in the microeconomy. We've gotten the double whammy the last number of years. But New Jersey ain't going out of business. And there's still a lot of people that live there, want to continue to live there, and there's still a lot of businesses that are there, and they will continue to grow. And businesses go through different cycles and whatever. So the environment, and I think that what Manny alluded to earlier, Governor Christie, I think, is setting the right tone, and I think he's going to make the right changes.
You know what a big difference is having a
Such
lieutenant
breath of
governor?
fresh air.
That's a huge sea change in our state, first time ever. And if you've met Kim Guardano, she is tremendous. I know we had a permit we couldn't get for 5 years, and she was like, tell me more, and in 2 days, we got this permit.
So basically,
So
you're talking
she's
about
delivering
a
and
user
executing
I think
as our
Peter
business
is,
development
we're
person.
talking about a user-friendly, when you have a user-friendly
just have a-
government and an organization, you're able to do certain things.
By the way, we just had the same experience with an issue at the DEP, something
Right.
that sat around for years, and just one meeting with someone high up, reasonably intelligent, understanding issues that are pretty rudimentary to understand, but just sat there in the bureaucracy, and it got
This is the
changed within
mantra
a
of
couple
this
of days.
administration. This
So
administration is preaching.
that's positively happening, no
Yeah.
question about it. So I think they're going to be positive changes.
I also feel like that this is an administration. I mean, listen, I had a friend who had a company in New Jersey, Montclair. I think he's got about 100+ jobs, not a huge employer. He was contemplating, he had Governor Rendell call him personally.
Oh, yeah.
100+ jobs. I think we now have a governor who has said to me, if you got prospective tenants and you need my help, you know my number, call me.
Right.
And I haven't had the deal to say, hey, Gov, can we use you as to help out here and or who would you assign to put a package together? But I actually believe that, that the front office would be supportive of any decent size requirement and, put someone on it to be the account executive of that pitch.
Right.
And that's a sea change.
No
It
question.
is not, the governor does not believe it is above his office's responsibility to get involved.
Yeah, this-
Addressing the
traffic.
industrial issue, we own about 2.5 million square feet of industrial space in the state. That's about 1 million feet too many. I wish I had a little bit less than that right now. We own a lot of space down at the Exit 8A market. And if you take a look what's happened in the world of the macroeconomy, we're all, over the last couple of years, the traffic down at the port has been down 25-30%. It's up a little bit this year. Consumer, to the extent our economy is driven by the consumer, they say 70% of our economy is driven by the consumer. If people are buying less, then we're both importing less and warehousing less.
You bring up the port. I happened to be at a wedding a couple of months ago, and it's in the zone where there's a special 3% tax over there, and
Enterprise zone.
The enterprise zone, and we took a ride, and I saw all these new hotels over there. I mean, I understand because of the convenience to Newark Airport and the shopping. They have these outlet malls. I mean,
Jersey Commons. So it's
Jersey
been there
Gardens.
for a decade. I mean,
no, but the additional place that they're building over there on the situation, and I think, look, you and your family, basically created the outlet centers, in the Secaucus and the major retail over there, and then not outlet, retail centers. I think that's helped that section of the state over there. My question is, where's the best opportunity for someone if they want to do business in Jersey? Is it Newark? Is it Secaucus? I mean, I don't think it's going. Is it?
Is it a retailer?
yeah,
For everybody.
I'm talking it's a
retail.
broad shot.
Okay, retail first, and then office second.
Well, I would answer the question like this. We are in, the Bible says that there are 7 good years and 7 bad, and we're somewhere in the middle of the 7 bad. That being said, this is a cyclical business, and if you play your games right, you can make money in any inning. It gets a whole lot easier in the later innings than the earlier innings of these cycles. But I think
I mean,
everybody's
are we going to see this?
I don't think you're seeing a
this
lot of
benefit.
building.
Look, Jersey City and Hoboken really did well. People went out there. There was the hope, with Cory Booker that Newark would do well. You have the new stadium over there, which is magnificent. You have, as you said, the pizza places.
So John's Pizza's coming to Newark,
coming
yeah.
to Newark over there. You have the Red Bull Stadium. You have the new giant jet stadium over there. You have all of this. You have the failed complex called Xanadu, but you have convenience is important. I mean, that's the good part. A lot of people from New Jersey come to New York to work. And vice versa. The situation. All of you are developers except for you, but you're a partial developer. I mean,
He's smarter than all of us.
okay,
You think? Yeah.
So where?
He bills by the hour.
Okay.
Yeah, collection stuff.
Okay, so Peter, you've been in the business for more than 30 years in advance. You've been in the business, for at least 30 years. Okay, you're 25. So where?
Flowery gets you everywhere.
You're only 25 years old, man?
Yeah, he's only 25 years old. I mean, I don't see more great opportunities in Hoboken. I think the land has been too expensive. Yeah. I think Jersey City, perhaps, there has that potential market.
Jersey City is a real market. It's a real office market. I think there are about 20 million. We don't have any commercial in Jersey City. I think it's about a 20 million square foot market. Pretty well leased up, I think.
Yep.
There are a couple new hotels that are there, and I think they're doing pretty well. Jersey City is a natural because it's the direct beneficiary of what's happening downtown in Manhattan. Manhattan is still the mother.
Yeah.
And whether or not the downtown is getting rebuilt, whether or not the Port Authority or Larry Silverstein or any of the other landlords make money down there, unfortunately or fortunately, is going to be their issue. It's going to be bringing a lot of people.
I think, to talk about what's happening in New Jersey on my 10th season, which will start in September, I hope to have all of you back and to talk about it. But I think my audience and the viewers who catch it on the internet around the world will have an idea of what's happening in New Jersey because of the four of you today. I'd like to thank Emmanuel Stern, Peter Coziello, I'm going to screw up, Frank.
You got it.
Frank Giantomasi, okay, I got it right, and Murray Kushner. Next week, we talk about the insane investment market. See you next week.
Major funding for this program is made possible by grants from Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, and Perfect Building Maintenance, New York Community Bank, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Inc., New York's window company, Capital One Bank, Greenberg Traurig, LLP. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from AVR Realty Company, LLC, Briarwood Organization, Beechwood Organization, C.B. Richard Ellis, Cushman and Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Hal Fettner, Durst Fettner Residential, First American Title Insurance Company of New York, F.J. Siami Construction, Friedman LLP, Gemini Real Estate Advisors LLC, Investors Savings Bank, Jack Jaffa and Associates Real Estate Consultants, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Madison Realty Capital, Massey Knackle Realty Services, M&T Bank, Markham LLP, Marcus and Millichap Real Estate Investment Services, Meridian Capital Group, The Moynihan Group, Margolin Weiner and Evans LLP, Newmark Knight Frank, Orphanides and Associates, SJP Properties, Sterling and Sterling Inc., Stonehenge Partners, Urban American, The Wickoff Group.